Top 10 greatest inventions that change the world. What is the greatest invention in human history? It is a wheel, which allows people to move heavy objects and travel across great distances. It is a printing press, which have ideas spread beyond the walls of palaces, monasteries, and universities. Or it is an internet, which now connects billions of people through a global network of information. The modern world is filled with technology. We wake up to electric lights, we communicate through telephones, we travel using machines powered by engineering systems developed across centuries. We receive vaccines that protect us from disease that once killed entire communities, and we use computers to work, study, create, calculate, and communicate. These actions feel ordinary today, but almost every ordinary action depends on an extraordinary history. Behind each invention were generations of observation, experimentation, failure, and improvement. No invention worked in complete isolation. The technologies we use today were rarely created in one perfect moment. Instead, they develop gradually. An idea appeared in one society, another inventor improved it. A different culture adapted it for a new purpose, and eventually, the invention became powerful enough to transform the lives of millions of people. The compass began as a discovery about magnetism before becoming an essential tool for navigation. The steam engine developed through the work of multiple inventors before it had power factories, mines, ships, and railways. The telephone depended on early experiments with electricity, sound, and the telegraph. The computer evolved from mechanical calculation, mathematical theory, electronic engineering, and information science. Even writing, which may appear simple today, requires humanity to transform spoken language, objects, and abstract ideas into permanent symbols. These inventions did more than make individual tasks easier. They changed the structure of civilization. They influenced the structure of civilization. They influenced where people lived, how governments operated, how knowledge was preserved, how wars were fought, how economies developed, and how human beings understood distance, time, and possibility. However, invention does not always produce only positive consequences. The steam engine accelerated industrial growth, but it also increased the use of fossil fuels. The printing press expanded across to knowledge, but it also allowed propaganda and false information to spread. Computers and the internet created extraordinary opportunities while introducing surveillance, cybercrime, misinformation, and digital inequality. Every powerful invention changes what humanity can do. It does not guarantee that humanity will use that power wisely. In this video, we will count down 10 inventions that changed the world. Each one was selected according to four main factors. Number one, the people affected, the the number of people affected, the length of its historical influence, the number of its industries and social systems it transformed, and how different the modern world would be without it. There is not a scientific or universally accepted ranking. Many other inventions could reasonably appear on this list: agriculture, paper, the plow, the transistor, the automobile, the airplane, the refrigerator, antibiotics, the camera, radio, and sanitation system had all transformed human civilization. But the 10 inventions in the countdown created especially wide and lasting changes. Which invention will take the number one position? Let's begin. How inventions are ranked. Before beginning the countdown, we should clarify what makes an invention historically important. The first factor is scale. Does the invention improve one specialized activity, or did it affect entire societies? An invention becomes more influential when millions or billions of people depend on it. The second factor is duration. Some technologies become popular for a short period and then disappear. Others continue to shape civilization for hundreds or even thousands of years. The third factor is systemic impact. Did the invention change only one task, or did it transform transportation, communication, economics, education, medicine, and government at the same time? Finally, we consider whether later inventions depended on it. A foundational invention may appear simple, but without it, entire technological system might never have developed. With these principles in mind, we begin with an instrument that helps humans travel beyond familiar coastlines. Number 10. The compass. Number 10 is the compass. Before reliable navigational instruments existed, sailors depended heavily on coastlines, stars, wind patterns, ocean currents, and personal experience. These methods could be remarkably effective, but they became more difficult when clouds covered the sky or when ships traveled far from land. The magnetic compass changed that relationship with distance. The compass works because a magnetic needle responds to Earth's magnetic field. When the needle is allowed to rotate freely, it aligns approximately along a north-south direction. That gives the user a consistent reference point. The history of the compass did not begin with one European explorer. Knowledge of magnetism developed over a long period. Ancient Chinese observers studied lodestone, a naturally magnetized mineral. Early magnetic devices may initially have been used in divination and spatial organization before magnetic direction finding became increasingly important for navigation. Chinese navigators were using magnetic compasses by the medieval period. Knowledge and practical compass technologies later appeared across Islamic world and Europe. Although historians continue to study the exact paths through which technology spread and developed, different societies adapted the basic principle into instruments suitable for ships and long-distance travel. The compass did not tell sailors their complete position. It could not directly calculate latitude, longitude, or distance, but it provided something essential: direction. A ship could continue following a general course even when the coastline disappeared and stars were hidden. This increased confidence in open water navigation. Combined with improved shipbuilding, maps, and astronomical knowledge, the compass supported the expansion of maritime trade. It helped connect ports across Asia, the Indian Ocean, the Mediterranean, and eventually the Atlantic. Merchants could travel more reliably between distant markets. Governments would send fleets across larger regions. Explorers could attempt journeys beyond familiar waters. The compass therefore contributed to global exchange, but this exchange was not peaceful or equal. European maritime expansion led to colonization, conquest, slavery, resource extraction, and the destruction of indigenous societies. The same instrument that helped sailors transport knowledge and goods also helped empires project military power. This is a recurring pattern in technological history. An invention expands human capability, but the moral consequences depend on who controls it and why it's used. The compass also transformed map making. Once navigators could record directions more consistently, maritime charts become increasingly useful. Sailors compile compass headings with observations of wind, distance, and coastline to create more detailed knowledge of the world. Modern transportation no longer depends on the magnetic compass alone. Ships and aircraft use satellite navigation, radio systems, gyroscopes, and computerized instruments. Smartphones can determine location using global satellite networks. yet magnetic direction remains a basic navigational principle. Small compasses are still used by hikers, soldiers, sailors, and emergency teams because they do not require an internet connection or electrical power. The compass changed history by reducing one of travel's greatest uncertainties. It gave humans a reliable way to maintain direction across spaces where no road existed. It has transformed oceans from barriers into roads of communication, trade, and empire. For changing humanity's relationship with geography, the compass begins our countdown. Our next invention did not help humans find direction. It created a new source of mechanical power and helped launch the Industrial Revolution. Number 9. The steam engine. Number 9 is the steam engine. For most of human history, mechanical power came from a limited number of sources: human muscle, animals, wind, and flowing water. These resources could perform impressive work, but each had limitations. Humans and animals became tired. Wind was unpredictable. Water power machinery had to be located near rivers or streams. Steam power changed the system. The basic principle is simple. When water is heated, it becomes steam. Expanding steam creates pressure. That pressure can be used to move a piston or another mechanical component. The challenge was turning this principle into a safe, efficient, and useful machine. Early inventors experimented with steam for centuries. In the late 17th and early 18th centuries, engineers developed machines intended to remove water from mines. Thomas Savery created an early steam power pumping device. Thomas Newcomen later developed an atmospheric engine that became the first commercially successful engine capable of delivering repeated mechanical work for mining applications. Newcomen's engine was important, but it consumed a large amounts of fuel. James Watt is James Watt did not invent this steam engine from nothing. His achievement was to make major improvements to an existing system. While studying a model of Newcomen engine, Watt recognized that repeatedly heating and cooling the same cylinder wasted energy. He developed a separate condenser, allowing the main cylinder to remain hot, hot while steam was condensed elsewhere. This greatly improved efficiency. Working with Matthew Poulton and other engineers, Watt developed engines suitable for a wider variety for industrial tasks. Steam, steam power was no longer limited mainly to pumping water. It could drive rotating machinery. Factories could use it to operate textile equipment, metalworking systems, and production lines. This changed the geography of production. A water power factor needed a suitable river. A steam power factory could be built near workers, ports, coal fields, or markets. Industrial cities expanded. Large numbers of people moved from rural communities to urban manufacturing centers. Production increased dramatically. Goods that had once been made slowly by skilled workers could now be produced in far greater quantities. Steam power also transformed transportation. Steamships could travel without depending entirely on wind. Railways connected mills, factories, ports, and cities. A journey that once required days of wait could become faster, more predictable, and less expensive. Railways changed how people understood distance. Food could be moved to urban populations. Newspapers could reach distant towns more quickly. Companies could distribute products across national markets. Governments could move soldiers and supplies with unprecedented speed. Time itself became more standardized as railway networks require coordinated schedules. But industrialization also created severe social problems. Factory workers often face general conditions, long hours, and low wage. Children work in mills and mills. Urban neighborhoods became crowded and polluted. Industrial wealth grew, but it was distributed unequally. Steam power also increased demand for coal. The large-scale burning of fossil fuels becomes central to industrial economies, contributing to the long-term environmental crisis humanity faces today. The steam engine therefore represents both progress and cost. It expanded production and transportation. It also helped create systems of exploitation and pollution. Modern factories and vehicles rarely use classical steam engines in the same form. Their steam remains important. Many power stations generate electricity by heating water using steam to turn turbines. The fuel may be coal, gas, nuclear energy, or another heat source, but the process still reflects principles developed during the steam age. The steam engine takes number 9 because it changed the source, location, and scale of mechanical power. It did not simply improve one machine, it helped create the industrial world. Our next invention changed a different form of power: humanity's ability to defend itself against infectious disease. Number 8. Vaccination. Number 8 is vaccination. For most of history, infectious diseases could destroy communities without warning. Smallpox, measles, influenza, polio, and many other diseases killed millions of people. Medical knowledge was limited. Doctors could treat some symptoms, but they often had no reliable way to prevent infection. Vaccination introduced a revolutionary idea. The body could be prepared for the encountering a dangerous disease. The history of vaccination began before modern laboratories. Communities in Asia and parts of Africa practiced forms of variolation against smallpox. Material from a person with smallpox was introduced to an uninfected person in an attempt to produce a milder case and later protection. The method could work, but it was dangerous. The person could develop severe disease, spread infection, or die. In 1796, English physician Edward Jenner investigated reports that people who had contracted cowpox appeared protected from smallpox. Jenner used material from a smallpox sore to inoculate a young boy, James Phillips, and later tested whether the boy was protected from smallpox. The experiment would violate modern ethical standards, especially because it involved a child. But historically, it became associated with the first successful vaccine. The word vaccination developed from the Latin word connected with cows. Jenner did not understand viruses or the immune system in the modern scientific sense, but his work demonstrated that exposure to a related, less dangerous infection could provide protection. Later scientists expanded the principle. Louis Pasteur and others developed vaccines for additional diseases. Advances in microbiology help researchers understand that specific microorganisms cause specific illnesses. During the 20th century, vaccination became part of large-scale public health systems. Governments and international organizations organized campaigns against smallpox, polio, measles, and other diseases. The eradication of smallpox became one of the greatest achievements in medical history. After a global vaccination and surveillance campaign, the World Health Assembly declared smallpox eradicated in 1980. This was extraordinary. A disease has killed and scared people for centuries was no longer spreading naturally anywhere in the world. Vaccination has since protected people from more than 20 diseases and has become one of the foundations of modern public health. Vaccines work in different ways. Some use weakened or inactivated forms of a pathogen. Some use selected components. Others deliver genetic instructions that allow the body to recognize a specific target. The technologies differ, but the purpose is similar. They, tra- they train the immune system to respond more quickly and effectively when a real threat appears. Vaccination also creates a social form of protection. When enough people are immune, a pathogen has fewer opportunities to spread. This helps protect individuals who cannot receive certain vaccines because of age or medical conditions. But vaccination has always faced challenges. Early campaigns encounter fear, religious objections, political resistance, or distrust of authorities. Modern misinformation can spread rapidly through social media. Some people confuse normal scientific debate about safety and policy with a false claim that vaccination has no value. Vaccines can produce side effects, and no medical intervention is completely risk free. That is why testing, monitoring, and transparent communication are necessary. But the historical effect of vaccination is clear. Diseases have once caused widespread death have been eliminated from some regions, reduced dramatically, or controlled through immunization. Vaccination takes number 8 because it changed medical medicine from reacting to disease into preventing it. It gave humanity the ability to prepare the body for an enemy before the battle begins. Our next invention allowed the human voice to travel across distance but most instantly. Number 7. The telephone. At the number 7 is the telephone. Before electrical communication, information could travel only as quickly as a person, animal, ship, or visual signal. The telegraph changed this by transmitting coded electrical messages through wires. But telegraph users could not simply speak naturally. Message had to be converted into symbols transmitted by train operators and then delivered to the recipient. The telephone attempted to something more ambitious. It transformed sound into an electrical signal and reconstructed it somewhere else. The telephone was not the work of one isolated genius. Several inventors experimented with transmitting speech electrically. Anthony Milsey, Johann Philipp Reis, Elisha Gray, Graham Bell, and others contributed to the history. Patent disputes and questions about priority continue to influence how the story is told. Alexander Graham Bell received the famous United States patent in 1976 and became closely associated with the telephone's commercial development. On March 10, 1876, Bell made a successful call to his assistant, Thomas Watson. The earliest telephones were limited. Two devices could be connected directly, but a large network required a method for connecting different users. Telephone exchanges solved this problem. Operators manually connected calls by inserting cables into switch ports. This created a new communication infrastructure. Businesses could contact suppliers and customers more quickly. Doctors could be called during emergencies. Families separated by distance could hear one another's voices. Governments, newspapers, and transportation companies gained faster access to information. Unlike a written message, the telephone carried emotion. Tone, hesitation, excitement, and fear could travel through the wire. The telephone changed business culture. Decisions that once required letters or travel could be made within minutes. Companies expanded beyond local markets. Customer service, emergency system, finance, and journalism developed around instant voice communication. As networks expanded, telephone poles and cables become part of the physical landscape. Later, undersea cables connected continents. Radio technology en- enabled wireless calls. Electronic switching replaced many newer operators. The mobile phone transformed the invention again. Traditional telephones connecting buildings, mobile phones connected individuals. A person no longer needed to remain beside a fixed device. Cellular networks divided regions into coverage areas and allowed calls to move from one station to another. The smartphone then combined the telephone with computer, camera, map, music player, and internet terminal. The modern device in a pocket is no longer simply a telephone, but voice communication remains one of its foundational functions. The telephone also changed expectations. Once, once instant contact became possible, people began expecting rapid responses. Work could follow employees beyond the office. Governments and companies gained new opportunities for monitoring communication. Fraud, harassment, and unwanted calls became new problems. Despite these challenges, the telephone eliminated an ancient form of separation. For the first time, people could speak and listen across enormous distances without traveling. The telephone takes number 7 because it gave distant a voice. Our next invention extended the useful hours of the day and transformed homes, streets, and industries. Number 6. Electric lights. Number 6 is electric light. Humans have always searched for ways to control darkness. Fire provide warmth, protection, and illumination. Later societies use candles, oil lamps, and gas lighting. These technologies allow activity after sunset, but they create smoke, consume fuel, and carry serious fire risks. Electric lighting promised a cleaner and more controllable alternative. The electric light was not invented by one person in a single moment. Scientists and engineers experimented with electric arcs and glowing materials throughout the 19th century. The challenge was not simply making something glow. A practical system needed a durable lamp, reliable electricity generation, wiring, switches, metals, and a distribution network. Inventors including Humphrey Davy, Joseph Swan, Thomas Edison, and many others contributed to the development. Joseph Swan demonstrated practical incandescent lamps in Britain. Thomas Edison and his team developed improved lamps and, equally importantly, worked to create an integrated electrical system. An incandescent lamp produced light by passing electric current through a thin filament. The filament becomes extremely hot and glows. To prevent it from burning immediately, it is enclosed in a bulb with a very little oxygen. Early filaments does not last long. Researchers experimented with different materials and manufacturing methods, but a useful bulb was only one part of the problem. People could not use electric light without electricity. Electric lighting therefore required an entire infrastructure. Power stations generated electricity, cables carried it through streets and buildings, switches control individual lines, companies created building systems, engineers developed standards and safety procedures. When electric lighting entered factories, work no longer depended as heavily on daylight. Production could continue into the night. In homes, electric light reduced dependence on open flames. Streets became brighter, shops could remain open later. Theaters, stations, and public buildings developed new visual identities. Electric lighting changed architecture because buildings no longer require every working space to be positioned near a window. It also changed social life. evenings become more active. People could read, study, and work easily after dark. But the expansion of electricity had costs. Early electrical systems involved competition between technologies and companies. Infrastructure was expensive. Poor communities often gained access later than wealthy neighborhoods. Generating electricity also required energy. Where that energy came from coal and other fossil fuels, electric light indirectly contributed to pollution. Lighting technology continued to evolve. Tungsten placements improved incandescent bulbs. Fluorescent lamps use different physical principles. Light emitting diodes or LEDs transform efficiency again by producing more light with less wasted heat. Today, lighting can be controlled through computers, sensors, and smartphones. Electric light is so common that its significance is easy to overlook. A single switch represents power generation, transmission, engineering, and more than a century of technological development. Electric light takes number 6 because it reorganized the human day. It did not defeat darkness completely, it made darkness optional. Our next invention allowed knowledge to move through society with unprecedented speed. Number 5. The printing press. At number 5 is the printing press. Writing allowed people to preserve information, but for thousands of years, written text remained difficult and expensive to reproduce. A manuscript often had to be copied by hand. Skilled scribes could spend weeks, months, or even years producing a book. Each copy required enormous labor. This limited access to knowledge. Printing existed in East Asia long before Johannes Gutenberg. Chinese craftsmen used word block printing to reproduce text and image. Movable type was developed in China, and Korean printers later used metal movable type. These achievements are essential to global history of printing. Gutenberg's importance lies in developing a highly efficient combination of movable metal type, oil-based ink, casting methods, and mechanical pressing for 15th century Europe. Each metal letter could be arranged into words and sentences. The surface was covered with ink. Paper was pressed against type. After printing, the letters could be rearranged and reused. This made it possible to create many consistent copies of a text. Gutenberg's famous people demonstrated that the quality that mechanical printing could achieve. The press did not make books cheap overnight. Paper, type, and labels still require investment, but it changed the economics of reproduction. Once the type were prepared, additional copies could be produced far more quickly than handwritten manuscripts. Printing workshops spread across European cities. Books became more valuable. Printers produced religious texts, classical literature, legal documents, calendars, scientific works, and popular entertainment. The printing press accelerated the Renaissance by making classical and contemporary works easier to circulate. It influenced the Protestant Reformation because religious arguments and translation could reach large audiences. Martin Luther's writings spread through printed pamphlets in ways that would have been impossible in an earlier manuscript culture. Printing also transformed science. Researchers could publish observations, diagrams, and tables. Other scholars could compare results. Errors still occur, but knowledge became easier to standardize and criticize. The scientific community grew through printed communication. Maps become more consistent. Educational materials reach more students. Newspapers eventually created regular public flow of information. People could read about wars, markets, political debates, and events beyond their local communities. Public opinion became more powerful. Governments quickly understood both the value and danger of printing. Licensing, censorship, and punishment were used to control publishers. But once a text has been reproduced in hundreds or thousands of copies, complete suppression becomes difficult. Printing supported literacy, but literacy also increased demanding for printing. The two processes strengthen each other. Standardized texts help shape national languages. People who live far apart could read the same work and participate in shared political or religious discussions. The press also spread harmful ideas, propaganda, hatred, conspiracy theories, and deliberate lies could circulate alongside scientific and philosophical works. The technology did not decide which ideas were true, it increased the power of reproduction. Later technologies, typewriters, photocopiers, digital publishing, and social media continued this process. But the printing press created the first major of age mass-produced text. It takes number 5 because it transformed knowledge from a rare object into a reproducible force. Our next invention changed humanity calculates, stores information, and controls machines. Number 4. The computer. A number 4 is the computer. A computer is not one single machine. It is the result of centuries of attempts to automate calculation and information processing. Ancient devices such as the abacus help people organize numerical operations. Mechanical calculators later perform addition and subtraction. During the 19th century, Charlie Babbage designed machines that anticipate important ideas in modern computing. Babbage's analytical engine was never completed in his lifetime, but its design include concepts resembling a processor, memory, input, programmable instructions. Ada Lovelace studied the machine and wrote an algorithm intended for it. She also recognized that a sufficiently advanced machine might manipulate more than numbers. It could potentially work with symbols, music, and other forms of information. In the 20th century, mathematical theory and electronic engineering accelerated developments. Alan Turing described a theoretical model of general computation. During the Second World War, governments invested heavily in machines for code breaking, ballistics, and scientific calculation. Large economic computers used vacuum tubes and occupied entire rooms. ENIAC became one of the most famous early electronic general-purpose computers. Early computers were enormous, expensive, and difficult to program. Instruction might be entered through switches, cables, or punch cards. A modern pocket device has vastly more capability than machines that once required specialized buildings. This transformation depended on several interventions within the invention. The transistor replaced many fragile vacuum tubes. Integrated circuits place multiple electronic components on small pieces of semiconductor material. Microprocessors concentrated central computing functions onto chips. These, advance, these advances made computers smaller, cheaper, and more reliable. Mainframe computers entered governments, universities, and corporations. Personal computers brought computing into office, schools, and homes. Graphical interface allow users to interact with icons and windows instead of entering every command through text. The history includes thousands of companies, engineers, and programmers documented across the Computer History Museum's computing timeline. Computers change science by performing calculations beyond human speed. They model weather, analyzing genetic information, simulate physical systems, and process images from telescopes. They change business through accounting, databases, automation, and digital communication. They change entertainment through games, animation, music, and video. Computers computers also control systems that many people never see. Cars, aircraft, medical equipment, power networks, factories, traffic signals, banking systems. Modern civilizations depends on embedded computers operating in the background. The invention also created new risks. Automation can eliminate jobs or change the skills workers need. Computer systems can fail. Hackers can steal information or disrupt essential services. Algorithms can reproduce discrimination when they are trained on biased data. Electronic waste damages environments and communities. Artificial intelligence extends these questions. Computers now recognize patterns, generate language, predict behavior, and assess with decisions. These capabilities may improve medicine, science, and education. They may also intensify surveillance, misinformation, and unequal power. The committee does not merely calculate, it increasingly participates in decisions that shape human lives. The computer takes number 4 because it became a universal machine. A steam engine is designed to produce mechanic power. A telephone is designed to transmit communication, but a general-purpose computer can become many different tools depending on its instructions. It can calculate, write, communicate, simulate, design, control, and create. Our next invention connected these machines into a global system. Number 3. The Internet. Number 3 is the Internet. Many people use the words Internet and World Wide Web as though they mean the same thing. They are related, but they are not identical. The Internet is a global system of interconnected computer networks. The World Wide Web is one important service that operates through that system. Email, file transfer, online games, and many other services also use Internet infrastructure. The Internet did not begin as one completed invention. It developed through research in packet with switching, networking, and computer communication. Instead of sending information as one continuous stream through a dedicated path, packet switching devices data into smaller units. These packets can travel through networks and be reassembled at the destination. ARPANET, supported by United States Department of Defense, became an important early packet switching network. The first connections appeared in research institutions in 1969. But connecting several computers was only the beginning. The larger challenge was allowing different networks to communicate with one another. Researchers including Vincent and Robert Kahn have developed protocols and supported Internet working. The TCP/IP standards become foundational to the Internet. The Internet Society describes one architecture networking and the connection of multiple independent networks as central ideas in the Internet's development. On January 1, 1983, ARPANET transition to TCP/IP became a major milestone. Academic and research networks expanded. Email became one of the earliest popular applications. The system grew internationally. Then, in 1989, Tim Berners-Lee proposed a method for organizing and accessing linked information at CERN. He developed core technologies of World Wide Web, including HTML, URLs, and HTTP. The web made internet information easier for ordinary users to explore. A person could select a link and move from one document to another. Browsers introduced graphic images and more accessible interface. Commercial services expanded during 1990s. Search engines help users navigate rapidly growing information. The internet transformed communication. Email reduced the importance of physical distance. Video calls allow families to colleges to see one another across continents. Social networks allow users to publish directly to large audiences. A person no longer needed a printing press, broadcasting company, or newspaper to distribute a message globally. The internet also transformed commerce. People could buy products, transfer money, and manage businesses and work remotely. Education moved online. Libraries digitize materials. Scientists share data. Open source communities develop software through international collaboration. The internet became a worldwide broadcasting, information sharing, and collaboration system. But the same features create new dangers. False information can reach millions of people within hours. Platforms can collect detailed personal data. Governments and companies can monitor behavior. Cyber attacks can target hospitals, banks, and public infrastructure. Online harassment can follow people into their homes. Children can encounter exploitation or harmful content. The internet also remains unequal. Billions of people have gained access, but connection quality, affordability, language, and digital skills vary greatly. The internet has no single owner. Its operation depends on a cooperation among networks, standards organizations, governments, companies, and users. This decentralized structure has its role, but it also makes governance difficult. Who should control online speech? Who should protect privacy? Who is responsible when algorithms promote harm? These questions remain unresolved. The internet takes number three because it created a new environment for human activity. It did not simply improve communication. It created a digital space in which work, education, commerce, entertainment, politics, and relationships now occur. Our next invention is far older, but without it, transportation and machinery would have developed very differently. Number two, the wheel. And number two is the wheel. The wheel appears so simple that it's difficult to imagine a world without it. Its circular object rotates around an axis. But this basic arrangement changed transportation, manufacturing, engineering, and warfare. Interestingly, the wheel did not appear immediately after humans began moving heavy objects. People could drag loads, use sledges, roll objects over logs, or transport goods by water. Creating a useful wheel and axe system require materials, tools, and practical knowledge. The earliest known wheels appear in ancient societies during the 4th millennium BCE. Some of the oldest evidence is connected to pottery rather than transportation. Potters use rotating platforms to shape clay more efficiently. The application of rotation to vehicles required another step. A wheel had to remain strong, circular, and connected to the axe while carrying weight over uneven ground. Early wheels were made from solid pieces of wood joined together. They were heavy. Later, spoke wheels reduced weight and improved speed. Chariots became important in warfare and elite display across ancient civilizations. Wheel cars supported farming and trade. Goods could be moved over land in quantities that would have been difficult for human carriers alone. However, a wheel is useful only when supported by infrastructure. Rough mountains, forests, and swamps can make wheel transport difficult. Roads, bridges, and maintained routes increase its value. The Roman Empire invested heavily in roads partly because wheeled vehicles and military logistics depended on reliable services. They will also become essential outside transportation. Water wheels converted flowing water into mechanical work. Gears transfer motion and change speed or force. Pulleys lifted heavy loads. Spinning wheels transformed textile production. Clock mechanisms measure time. During industrialization, wheels appeared throughout machinery. Flywheels store rotational energy. Railway wheels carry trains. Turbines generated power. Modern vehicles use wheels supported by tires, suspension, brakes, and steering systems. Even technologies that do not travel on wheels often depend on rotation. Hard drives, motors, fans, pumps, generators, and manufacturing equipment all use rotating components. The wheel's influence is not universal in the same form. Many civilizations developed sophisticated societies without relying heavily on wheel transportation. In some environments, boats, pack animals, or human carriers were more practical. This reminds us that technology does not develop through one fixed path. An invention becomes powerful when it matches social and environmental conditions. The wheel also brought destructive uses. Chariots transform ancient warfare. Military vehicles carry weapons. Industrial machinery could increase exploitation as easily as productivity. Modern automobile societies created traffic deaths, pollution, and urban designs depend on roads and parking. That the underlying invention remains foundational. It will reduce friction. It allows rotation to become controlled motion. It transforms movement from a struggle against the ground into a mechanical system. The wheel takes number two because it appears almost everywhere in civilization. It carries people, it powers machines, it measures time, and it turns energy to motion. But one invention takes number one position. It does not require electricity, it has no engine. It may be created with clay, ink, paint, stone, or pixels. That without it, complex civilization could not preserve its memory. Number one, writing. The greatest invention that changed the world is writing. Speed allows humans to communicate complex ideas, but spoken words disappear. A story can be remembered, a law can be repeated, a message can be carried. That memory changes. People forget, details are altered, knowledge can disappear when the people who hold it die. Writing solved this problem by giving language a physical form. The earliest writing system did not begin as complete alphabets. They developed gradually from marks, image, and accounting systems. In ancient Mesopotamia, people used clay tokens and symbols to record goods and transactions. By around 3200 BCE, scribes in Sumerian cities were using signs that developed into cuneiform writing. The British Museum described cuneiform originating in what is now Iraq before 3200 BCE as the oldest known form of writing. Surprise pressed a red stylus into soft clay. The wedge-shaped marks could represent objects, sounds, words, and grammatical ideas. Clay tablets recorded food, labor, such property and trade. Writing may have begun largely as an administrative technology, but its possibilities expanded. Laws could be preserved, rulers could issue commands, merchants could record debts, religious traditions could be copied. Story could travel beyond one storyteller. The names of people who died thousands of years ago could remain visible. Other writing systems developed independently or through complex cultural interaction. Egyptian hieroglyphs combine images and sounds. Chinese writing developed a long continuous tradition. Mesoamerican civilizations created sophisticated scripts. Writing systems took different forms. Some used signs for words or syllables. Alphabets represented smaller sound units with relatively limited sets of symbols. The Phoenician writing system influenced Greek writing. Greek letters influenced Latin and other alphabets, but no writing system can be reduced to one simple line of progress. Each developed within particular languages and societies. Writing transformed government. A village could operate through memory and personal relationships. A large state needed records. Officials had to track taxes, land, workers, soldiers, and supplies. Written orders could travel farther than the ruler's voice. Law courts created public claims about rules and punishment. Writing transformation economics. Contrast made agreements more durable. Merchants record in inventory and credit. Numbers and accounting supported large organizations. Currency, banking, and international trade depended increasingly on written documentation. Writing, writing transformed religion. Scar teachings could be preserved and interpreted across generations. Scriptures became foundations for communities spread across enormous regions. Writing transformed science. Observations could accumulate. A discovery no longer had to disappear with the discoverer. Mathematical procedures, astronomical records, and medical treatments could be copied, criticized, and improved. One generation could begin where the previous generation ended. This cumulative process is essential to scientific progress. Writing also created literature, epic poetry, drama, history, philosophy, letters, novels, personal diaries. Human beings could enter the thoughts of people they would never meet. The dead could speak through text. Imaginary characters could influence real emotions. The invention changed memory itself. Before writing, cultures preserved knowledge through oral tradition, performance, song, and ritual. These systems were not primitive. They could be complex, accurate, and socially powerful. Writing did not simply replace oral culture. It created a different kind of memory. Information could be stored outside the human brain, but external memory created new power relationships. Most early people could not read or write. Scribes controlled information. Governments used records to collect taxes or organize armies. Written laws could support justice, but they could also strengthen authority. Colonial governments imposed languages and writing systems. Documents were used to claim land, classify populations, and control movement. Writing can preserve truth, it can also preserve lies. A written statement appears permanent, but permanence does not make it accurate. Propaganda, forged documents, and biased histories have shaped societies for centuries. The same invention that protects knowledge can give falsehood an appearance of authority. Writing continued to evolve with material technology. Clay tablets gave way to papyrus, parchment, and paper. The printing press multiplied text. Typewriters accelerated composition. Computers transformed words into digital data. The internet allowed text to cross the world almost instantly. A text message and a cuneiform tablet may appear completely different, but they share the same fundamental achievement. A human thought has been encoded into visible signs that another person can interpret later. Writing makes communication independent of the speaker's physical presence. It crosses distance, It crosses time. It allows people who never lived in the same century to exchange ideas. Without writing, there would be no reliable historical record, no complex legal system, no large scientific literature, no modern bureaucracy, no computer programming as we know it, no internet filled with readable information. Many other inventions in this countdown depended on knowledge preserved through writing. Engineers studied diagrams, doctors recorded experiments, programmers created symbolic instructions, governments organized infrastructure through documents. The wheel changed movement, the steam engine changed power, vaccination changed medicine, the telephone changed voice communication, electric light changed the human day, the printing press multiplied information, the computer processed it, and the internet connected it. But writing made cumulative knowledge possible. It allowed humanity to remember more than any one person could hold it in the mind. That is why writing takes number one position. It is not simply one invention among many. It is a system through which inventions can be described, preserved, taught, and improved. Writing transformation human memory into civilization's memory. Comparing the top 10 inventions. These 10 inventions transform humanity in very different ways. The compass changed direction and navigation. It helped sailors cross oceans and connected distant regions through trade, exploration, and empire. The steam engine changed mechanical power. It create it helped create factories, railways, and industrial cities. Vaccination changed humanity's relationship with disease. Instead of waiting for infection, medicine could prepare the immune system in advance. The telephone allowed people to speak across distance. Electric light extended work, study, and social life beyond sunset. The printing press made it possible to reproduce information on a massive scale. The computer transformed calculation and information processing. The internet connected computers and people through global networks. The wheel became the foundation of transport and mechanical rotation. And writing allowed human knowledge to survive beyond the limits of individual memory. Some of these inventions were physical objects, others were systems or methods. The wheel can be held, writing can be abstract method represented through many materials. The internet is not one machine, but a network built through shared protocols and infrastructure. Vaccination is not one product, but a medical principle expressed through its different technologies. Another important pattern is that no invention belongs completely to one person. The popular story about long journeys is usually incomplete. Inventors depend on earlier knowledge. They use available materials. They work with assistants, craftspeople, investors, and institutions. Their creations are improved by later generations. The telephone involved multiple experimenters. The electric light required more than a bulb. The steam engine developed through Savory, Newcomen, Watt, and many others. Printing technologies appeared in East Asia before Gutenberg developed his European system. The Internet emerged through international research and cooperation. It does not reduce the importance of famous inventors, it gives a more accurate understanding of innovation. History changes when ideas become systems. A successful invention needs manufacturing, infrastructure, training, maintenance, social acceptance, and access. An electric lamp without a power system has limited value. A telephone without a network cannot connect society. A computer without software cannot perform useful tasks. A vaccine without distribution cannot protect communities. Technology becomes historically powerful when societies build structures around it. These structures also determine who receives the benefits. Has never been equal. Books remain expensive for many people even after printing. Electricity reached some neighborhoods before others. Vaccines may exist but remain unavailable in poorer countries. The internet connects billions while excluding people who cannot afford devices or reliable service. The history of invention is therefore also a history of inequality. The inventions in this ranking gave humanity extraordinary power, but they did not tell humanity how to use it. The compass enabled trade and conquest. Steam power increased production and pollution. Printing spread science and propaganda. Computers support machine and surveillance. The internet connects communities and distributes misinformation. Invention expands possibility. Wisdom determines direction. Inventions that could have been included. And a list of 10 inventions but leave out technologies that change history. Agriculture allowed communities to produce food surpluses and develop permanent settlements. The plow transformed cultivation. Paper provide a lighter and more flexible writing material. Sanitation system reduce exposure to dangerous waste and contaminated water. The transistor became the foundation of modern electronics. Antibiotics transformed treatment for bacterial infections. The internal combustion engine powered automobiles and aircraft. Refrigeration changed food distribution, medicine, and urban life. Radio created wireless mass communication. Photography preserved visual moments. The airplane changed global transportation. The contraceptive pill influenced health, family planning, and women's social opportunities. The semiconductor chip made modern computing possible. Satellites transformed navigation, communication, and scientific observation. These inventions could appear in another ranking. Human civilization was not created through 10 isolated breakthroughs. It developed through thousands of technologies that interacted with one another. The value of a countdown is not only that it creates a final answer, it encourages us to notice how deeply invention shapes everyday life. Conclusion. Human beings are not the strongest animals. We are not the fastest. We cannot fly naturally. We cannot breathe underwater. Our bodies are vulnerable to temperature, disease, and physical danger. That humans develop one unusual ability, recreate tools that extend what our bodies and minds can do. The compass extended our sense of direction. The steam engine extended our physical power. Vaccination strengthened our defenses against disease. The telephone extended the human voice. Electric light extended the day. The printing press extended the reach of ideas. The computer extended calculation and memory. The internet extended connection. The wheel extended movement. And writing extended human thought beyond a single lifetime. Every invention began with a problem. How can we move this weight? How can we find out direction? How can we preserve this message? How can we protect people from disease? How can we communicate across distance? The answers did more than solve individual problems, they changed civilization. But invention is never finished. Every solution creates new questions. Industrial power created pollution. Digital communication created misinformation. Medical progress created debates about access and trust. Automation created concerns about employment and control. Future inventions will bring opportunities and risks that we cannot fully predict. The challenge for humanity is not simply to invent more. It is decide what kind of world those inventions should create. Technology can make life longer, safer, and more connected. It can also concentrate power, damage the environment, and increase inequality. The future will depend not only on what we are capable of building, it will depend on the values guiding our decisions. Now, we would like to hear from you. Which invention do you believe changed the world the most? Do you agree that writing deserves the number one position? Would you choose the wheel, vaccination, the computer, or the internet instead? And which important invention should have appeared in this countdown? Share the answer in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through technologies that shape civilization, Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more documentaries about history, science, innovation, and the greatest achievements of humanity. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.